When we saw the two special Pikachu in the Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves announcement trailer, Mr. Windichu and Mrs. Wavychu, I just thought they were fun little weird additions to allude to the region's inspiration. You know, just a couple of retired tan tourists. But the website tells us that they are actually important to the story and actually create a bit of a mystery around their role. So hey, I'm not so a stranger, and they are the legendaries. Let's get into it. When first looking at the trailer, I assumed they would be the hotel owners, and I still kinda believe that might be the case. In fact, while they look like they'll be exclusive according to their designs, I feel like they might not be. When we look at this scene from the hotel, we can see a wave pattern there, but you're looking at the Wind's protagonist. And here, you can see a wind pattern behind Gekwa, meaning that the hotel is either swapped, Wind's hotel for Waves and Waves hotel for Winds, which would make a lot of sense, or the hotel is neutral. It's both Winds and Waves, but you, the protagonist, will focus on one side of the story. And by one side of the story, I of course mean one of the cover legendaries. That's how you do it in Pokemon. Your version will have its focus drawn to one of the cover legendaries, the one that is on the cover of your game. Sometimes both legendaries play a role in one game, like Zacian and Zamazenta in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, but other times they don't even show up in the opposing version, like Koraidon and Miraidon in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Here in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, I believe both will play a role. And why? Well, Winds and Waves, both of them, both Winds and Waves, will be present in the games because you are in the island, you can see both of those phenomenons happening. You will just be studying one of them. And that's why I feel like the Pikachu couple will not be exclusive, but only one of them will be pushing you forward in your adventure or sponsoring you in a way. That, and of course, like I said, I believe they are the legendary Pokemon. And to that you say, well, Pikachu is great and all, very popular Pokemon, but it is not legendary. And to that I say, well, let us talk a little bit about gods wanting to be like us. The human guise is a concept in mythology, fantasy, religion, all of those things, where beings that are not human, gods, monsters, angels, anything, can actually take the shape of humans. They use this usually for their own gain. They need something that they cannot obtain, or they want to communicate with us but need to use a form that we can comprehend. Or they're simply evil, and in order to get close enough to us to take us down, well, they put up a different form, one that we will not be afraid of, a human form. In this case, since this is Pokemon, they do not take a human guise, they take a Pikachu guise, which makes sense because even Mimikyu wants the love that Pikachu gets. By taking the form of a cute Pikachu couple, these two gods can then communicate with us or lead us or push us to do something that they themselves cannot or should not be doing. And if they are actually connected to the ownership of the hotel or are the owners themselves, then it makes sense that that is our base of operations because we are sent from there in order to do some research, or at least it seems like that's the case. And so that research might be needed for them to protect the islands or because they have lost the ability to do that themselves. That is what they have to gain by doing this. For example, there might be a third legendary that they need to battle. In Sword and Shield, the last game where the two legendaries were relevant in the same title, we had to battle Eternatus, and the legendaries Zacian and Zamazenta couldn't have taken the Eternamax form down if it wasn't for us and Hop having the Rusted Shield and Rusted Sword. They needed us in order to awaken and have their full power. I mean, this is the gimmick symbol, these are the colorful lights in the hotel. I don't know, everything seems connected. But back to the Pikachu guys legendaries, what about their true forms? What could them be? What could they look like? Well, what do we know at this point? The games are focusing on winds and waves, so that concept is important for the legendaries as well. One will very likely have a more traditionally female form, the one that is Mrs. Wavychu, and the other a more traditionally male form, the one that is Mr. Windichu. With this in mind, I looked into Balinese and Javanese mythology, finding Dewi Danu, the water goddess of Balinese Hindus, and Batarabayu, the god of wind of Javanese Hindus. But they look too human, and there's no information about them shape-shifting in the lore I found. So, and because I feel like they'll tie together not only Indonesian lore but Southeast Asian lore in general for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, I found a demigod that I think works the best to fuse with the concept of these two gods. While there are tales of shape-shifting creatures like Genderuwo or the Babi Ngepet, they're more folklore than mythology, and so I looked at the half-human, half-serpent demigods that are the Naga. There are numerous legends about these creatures all over Southeast Asia, from Antaboga being the world serpent in Javanese and Balinese mythology to Bakunawa being the cause for wind in Philippine mythology, as well as other natural disasters, and they are more than often tied to water and waterways, where, waves exist. Some are even said to be able to shapeshift and take human forms, although serpents are always present in the design somehow. And so Mr. Windichu and Mrs. Wavichu will be the Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves legendaries disguised as Pikachu in order to interact with us. The Waves legendary will be inspired by Dewi Danu, the water goddess of Balinese mythology, and the Wind legendary will be inspired by Batarabayu, the god of wind from Balinese and Javanese mythology. But instead of having a more human form like these two gods have, they'll be more like Naga, which are half-human, half-serpent demigods from Southeast Asian mythology. The reason why they'll need us and are disguised as cute yellow tanned mouses, well, that's a theory for another time, but don't worry, it will be here eventually. But that's a theory. What do you think? How do you feel about the Pikachu being the legendaries in disguise? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Good Old Deo, Sean Speaks and Dash Plays, and my Twitch subscribers Anubis Here, Zanes222, Lazarix, The Dr. Joe, and Teixeira23 for going that extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.